His voice trembled just a bit, yet he maintained his hold on my gaze. "You are more than merely my stepmother. You are an alternative. Stay with me until the end, because what happened next is something no one, not even I, could have ever imagined." That evening, as I stood at the kitchen sink, washing away the remnants of dinner from the plates, an unsettling sensation crept over me. I could feel someone watching. I shifted my gaze and caught sight of my son, poised in the hallway, a picture of stillness and silence. His gaze held a depth that transcended the typical absent-minded glance. The experience was profound, a quest imbued with an indescribable essence. I whispered his name gently, anticipating a glance or a smile in return. Yet he chose not to. His gaze lingered, as though he were beholding me anew. And then, a subtle change stirred in the atmosphere, a shift that would dismantle all I held true about our connection. I feigned ignorance to the tension flickering in his gaze and redirected my attention to the sink, allowing the warm water to cascade over my hands for an indulgently prolonged moment. My heart raced with an intensity that was hard to ignore. I had always been sensitive to energy, to emotions, to the unspoken words that lingered in the air. In that moment, his presence, his stillness, carried an air of strangeness. As I pivoted once more, he had vanished into thin air. The subtle creak of the stairs reached my ears, accompanied by the gentle thud of his bedroom door closing behind him. That moment should have marked the conclusion. A glance, a moment of stillness, a stillness, yet it remained. It trailed behind me. As darkness enveloped the room, I found myself in bed, grappling with thoughts I wished to dismiss. Adolescents were peculiar, temperamental, and full of surprises. Perhaps he wandered within the labyrinth of his own musings. Perhaps he harbored some lingering anger over a matter. Perhaps I had conjured the fervor of that stare. Yet, regardless of the countless angles I attempted to explore, I remained unable to dispel the sense that something had shifted. The memory of his gaze, fixed on me with an intensity that was both unyielding and desperate, lingered in my mind. The silence between us resonating more profoundly than any words could convey. On the following morning, he descended later than usual. He mumbled a hasty greeting, snatched a piece of toast, and averted his gaze. It was out of character for him. He often exuded a laid-back charm, radiating warmth and a playful, teasing nature. On that particular day, he scarcely cast a glance my way. I observed him navigate the kitchen, becoming aware of details I had long ignored. The way he had matured, how his stature had expanded, and the richness that had entered his voice. I experienced a moment of revelation, akin to the way mothers occasionally perceive their sons in a new light, recognizing that they have transcended the innocence of boyhood. The subsequent days only intensified the sense of discomfort. His silence lingered, extending into an uncomfortable expanse. He would observe me when he believed I was oblivious, only to swiftly avert his gaze. During dinner, he would position himself opposite me, his gaze wandering to my hands, my face, lingering just a moment too long, before darting back to his plate. It transcended mere curiosity. A certain energy enveloped it, a consciousness that ought not to have existed. I found myself in a state of deep inquiry, pondering the very fabric of my existence. Was I perhaps too candid with him about my feelings following the divorce? Excessively exposed. In those early months, we found solace in one another. I, fractured by the sting of betrayal and the weight of abandonment. He, ensnared in the turmoil of parental conflict, bewildered and seething with anger. We shared the kitchen, our laughter echoing through the air, and tears flowed freely in the warmth of our living room during those cherished movie nights. He had witnessed me at my most shattered. I found myself leaning into his comfort more than I had ever anticipated. I reassured myself that it stemmed from a place of nurturing, pure. Yet, at this moment, doubt lingered in my mind. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I summoned him from his sanctuary to assist me with the burden of groceries. He arrived, as he always did, without a word of discontent. As we carefully unpacked the bags, our fingers grazed against one another. An uncomplicated matter. Yet we found ourselves paralyzed. I regarded him with a piercing gaze, and he met my eyes with a fleeting expression that sent a shiver through my core. Fear, guilt, longing all intertwining within me. I took a step back and occupied myself with the contents of the fridge. The moment slipped away, yet the fissure had deepened. We remained silent about it, yet the atmosphere that enveloped us had transformed. That weekend, he inquired if we might indulge in a shared viewing experience, reminiscent of our past moments together. After a moment of uncertainty, I gave a slight nod. Perhaps this was all a figment of my imagination. Perhaps he longs for the intimacy we once shared. With a bowl of freshly made popcorn in hand, he chose the movie, and we nestled comfortably into the couch. Yet, even in that moment, I sensed it. The electric tension in the air, the fleeting looks exchanged, the deliberate distance kept between our bodies. He positioned himself near, yet refrained from making contact. His body was subtly inclined in my direction. His warmth enveloped me, his attention drawing me in. At a pivotal moment in the film, I found myself retreating to the kitchen. I found myself gasping for breath. Space was a necessity for me. I rested against the counter, inhaling deeply, my breath trembling as it filled my lungs. This situation was becoming perilous, not due to his actions, but rather because of the emotions I was starting to experience. Perplexed, deeply honored, shaken, and acutely, profoundly aware. I held the role of his stepmother. I had nurtured him. I had observed his growth. And now I found myself contemplating thoughts that no mother or stepmother ought to entertain. What was unfolding within me? In that moment, I resolved to retreat, to establish a separation, for the benefit of us both. I began to notice him hovering in the doorways, observing me when he believed I was unaware. On a quiet night, I discovered tears streaming softly into my pillow. The simplicity of our relationship, untouched by the shadows of confusion, is what I long for once more. The innocence eluded me, the sound of laughter. There exists a profound sense of security in his presence. I longed for the days when I was simply his mother, not this tangled, guilt-laden version of myself who recoiled from his touch and averted his gaze. I held myself accountable for relying on him excessively following the divorce. I treated him as an equal, a confidant, when I ought to have established clearer boundaries. Yet I sensed a change had taken root within him as well. He had shed the remnants of boyhood, and I transcended the role of merely a maternal figure. We traversed a perilous path, shrouded in silence, indistinct and unarticulated. Then arrived the night that would alter the course of everything. It began as just another day. Silence, rhythm of life. It was only when he gently rapped on my bedroom door that the stillness was broken. I propped myself up, taken aback. The hour was late. For a moment, I paused, weighing my response carefully. "Step inside," I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. He pushed the door open, entered with deliberate slowness, and gently shut it behind him. In that instant, I realized that everything had irrevocably changed. He lingered by the door for a moment, caught in a silent battle between the urge to advance and the instinct to withdraw. In his eyes, I discerned the turmoil, the hesitation, a flicker of something that danced on the edge of fear, yet never fully embraced it. I perched on the edge of the bed, immobilized, grappling with the words that eluded me. With my robes cinched snugly around me and my hair still glistening from the shower, an acute awareness of my appearance washed over me. He advanced with a deliberate, measured step, then yet another. When his voice finally emerged, it was soft and trembling. I would like to have a conversation with you." I nodded, gesturing toward the chair in the corner, yet he disregarded it and settled beside me on the bed, excessively near. My heart pounded fiercely within my chest, the warmth radiated from his arm, and an electric tension hung in the air between us. "What could it be?" I inquired, striving to maintain a tone that was calm, nurturing, and reassuring. Yet it emerged with a gentleness I hadn't anticipated, excessively gentle. Our eyes locked, and within that glance lay all the truths I had been desperately avoiding for weeks. He no longer concealed it, and I was acutely aware of it. "It was clear you had observed," he finally admitted. "The manner in which I perceive you, the manner in which I perceive the world that surrounds you. I have made attempts to cease. Indeed, it is known to the heavens that I have. Yet I find myself unable to do so. I yearn to shed the burden of falsehoods." His voice trembled just a bit, yet he maintained his hold on my gaze. "You are more than merely my stepmother. You are an alternative. I find myself uncertain of what that defines me as, or perhaps us. Yet I sense it deeply. I sense that you share this feeling as well." The air escaped my lungs, as if I had been struck with a sudden blow. I rose abruptly, striding across the room with purpose. "You have no idea what you're saying," I whispered. "There seems to be a cloud of uncertainty surrounding you. We have shared a deep connection, excessively near. I allowed that to unfold, and it was a mistake on my part. Yet what you are experiencing, it is not genuine. It is merely a misdirection of feeling. Loneliness envelops you. I find myself in the same position, yet this path is not the one to follow." He rose as well, yet remained still, not advancing toward me. "Do you truly believe that?" he inquired. "Your gaze speaks volumes to me. Your silence speaks volumes to me. Fear grips you. I find myself in the same position, yet that does not diminish its reality." His voice carried no trace of anger, merely sorrow and assurance. "I am not requesting anything from you. I simply had to express it, to speak candidly, at long last." I averted my gaze, my fingers clutching the rim of the dresser. The image staring back at me from the mirror was one of pallor, quivering with a sense of shame. I declared, "You are my son. Perhaps not by lineage, yet in every significant aspect. You entered my life as a boy. I nurtured you into who you are today. I safeguarded you. I am meant to cherish you as a mother would. Indeed I do. However, not in this manner. Stillness, stillness. Ah, so you do sense it." His voice had become a mere whisper. "You simply choose not to." I pivoted with deliberate slowness, our gazes intertwining once more, and I loathed him for perceiving me with such clarity. To uncover the aspect of myself that I had concealed. A sensation stirred within me. It was a struggle I endeavored to extinguish through reason, through embarrassment, through every ounce of my ethical essence. Yet it remained, a living entity, breathing, alive, pulsing just beneath the surface. He advanced a step. "You believe I am unaware of the gravity of this situation. I do indeed. Each morning, as I rise and recall your significance in my life, the truth settles in once more. Yet I am acutely aware of my emotions. I am not here to impose upon you. I want you to understand that your presence does not go unnoticed. Not as one who is shattered, not as one diminished by the actions of a former partner. I perceive your presence. My feelings for you run deep, profoundly." His voice trembled, and in that moment, he resembled the boy I once knew. Adrift, open to the world, exposed in the rawest sense, humankind. And a fragment of my being broke apart. I strolled by him, making my way to the window, where I eased it open just enough to invite the crisp night air inside. A shiver coursed through my skin. My heart was heavy with sorrow. What led us to this moment? At last, I uttered the words, "I need time. I require some distance, to ponder, to experience this in its entirety." At this moment, I find myself in a state of uncertainty regarding my identity or our essence. He nodded, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I will wait," he whispered, "even if it lasts an eternity." He slipped out of the room with a hushed grace, gently shutting the door in his wake. I found myself on the floor, my back pressed against the wall, trembling. Answers eluded simplicity. The boundaries have blurred beyond recognition. The unvarnished reality of words spoken and those left unuttered, and the resonance of it in each pulse of my heart. The subsequent days unfolded with a delicate grace, imbued with tenderness and a sense of carefulness. Our conversations were fleeting, mere exchanges in the flow of time. The tension had transformed into a gentler sensation, a respectful distance, perhaps even a sense of mourning for a boundary that could never be uncrossed. Yet I became aware of the transformation within me. I found myself no longer evading the reality of my emotions, but rather embracing them in stillness, delving into it, inquiring into its origins and the significance it holds. One evening he placed a note on the kitchen table. "Take your time. Only a handful of straightforward lines. I comprehend. I cherish you in every manner permitted to me. I appreciate your willingness to keep the lines of communication open." As I immersed myself in the words, tears streamed down my face, not for the sake of romance, yet it was rooted in kindness and genuine, and from a soul who had cherished me with the tumult of youth and the bravery of one ready to embrace misunderstanding. That night remains etched in my memory, along with the hushed revelation that transformed everything. Yet I would not permit it to shatter the fragile remnants of what I had painstakingly reconstructed within myself. I was indebted to us both, and maybe, in a peculiar and agonizing manner, it was love, albeit not the sort that society would ever endorse. Yet it was love all the same. The house had settled into an unusual stillness, not the sort of silence that offers solace, but rather the kind that constricts the chest and hangs heavily in the pauses between inhalations. Each chamber echoed with the whispers of past conversations. Each fleeting look we shared as we crossed paths lingered in a way that felt both prolonged and fleeting. I began to steer clear of mirrors, not out of shame per se, but due to the inquiries reflected in my own gaze. Unanswered questions lingered in my mind. I discovered that I was navigating my own existence with the utmost caution. The living room, once our sanctuary for movie nights, now resembled a stage post-performance, hollow, resonant, and marked by memories. The kitchen table carried the unspoken burden of the handwritten note he had entrusted to me. I had folded it with great care, only to unfold it repeatedly until the crease began to fray. His words were devoid of any vulgarity, nothing explicit, yet they bore an unrefined truthfulness that caught me off guard. "I comprehend. I cherish you in every manner permitted to me." What is the appropriate way to react to such a situation? On certain nights, I find myself awake, attuned to the sound of his footsteps echoing in the hallway, pondering whether he, too, is lying there, gazing at the ceiling, revisiting that moment, contemplating what might have been, or what ought never to have been uttered. We had both traversed an emotional boundary, and while no tangible line had been crossed, the raw intimacy of truth, exposed and unrefined, had transformed everything. The conflicting desires within me battled fiercely. One yearned to flee, to erase the memory entirely, while the other craved to embrace that moment, to explore and analyze every detail of it. I found myself pondering, did I guide him to that place? Did I show too much tenderness, feeling a bit isolated? Or could it be something more intricate, a reflection of human desire, the essence of emotional closeness, the process of healing through unforeseen bonds? I recalled the way he had gazed at me, not as a son, nor as a boy, but as a man beholding a woman he respected, admired, and perhaps even desired. That acknowledgement ignited a perilous spark within me. It transcended his singular existence. The focus was on me, reflecting on the person I had transformed into, following the end of my marriage, reflecting on the profound sense of invisibility that had enveloped me within my own skin. I realized how a single gaze, his gaze, had the power to awaken my spirit once more. Noted, not in the capacity of a mother, not in the role of a caretaker, yet as a female. And that filled me with dread. Every interaction we ever shared began to fill me with doubt. Each tender embrace, every joyful sound echoing in the kitchen, every instance he surprised me with coffee, unprompted. Had he been attempting to convey a message all this time? Or could this sensation be unfamiliar to us both? A creation of sorrow, of quietude, of existing in close proximity for an extended period. One afternoon, I returned home early from work and discovered him seated on the back porch, solitary, gazing into the diminishing light. For a fleeting moment, I observed him through the screen door. There was an unmistakable air of age about him, more insightful. It was as though voicing his truth had exacted a toll from him, or perhaps it had set him free. I slipped out silently, and as he turned, a gentle smile graced his lips. Nothing beyond that. We lingered in quietude, the atmosphere around us heavy with unspoken thoughts. At last, the words escaped my lips. My mind has been occupied with thoughts, endlessly swirling around. He inclined his head, allowing the words to flow uninterrupted. I remained uncertain about its meaning. I continued, or what it reveals about my essence, concerning you. However, it is essential for you to grasp the depth of my concern. Profoundly, that is precisely why I urge us to exercise caution. Not that I wish to distance myself from you, yet my desire to protect both our hearts holds me back. His jaw tightened imperceptibly, and I noticed him suppress his feelings before he finally found the words to speak. I am aware, I hold that in high regard. I long for a world where simplicity reigns. I echoed softly, me too. He extended his arm, not to make contact with me, but to place his hand gently on the armrest that separated us. A subtle expression of intimacy that remained within boundaries. The most challenging aspect was the overwhelming sense of warmth in his presence, juxtaposed with the undeniable wrongness of surrendering to that solace. In the solitude of that night, tears streamed down my face as I stood beneath the cascading water in the shower. It is not meant for him, for my own sake, for every iteration of myself I had interred in order to become the person I was meant to be. A spouse, a nurturing figure, a guardian, a woman who never permitted herself the luxury of desire. And now, when the unexpected stirred that hidden part of me, it arrived shrouded in the guise of impossibility. Perhaps that was the very essence of it. Perhaps the true lesson lay not in the possibilities of our connection, but in awakening the dormant aspects of myself. He had lifted a mirror, and while the reflection filled me with fear, it also served as a poignant reminder that I was still present, remaining intact, still deserving of attention, not merely for my contributions, but for my very essence. As the weeks unfolded, the atmosphere that enveloped us retained its softness, yet it was underscored by a profound sense of respect. That night remained unspoken between us, not out of fear, but from a shared understanding of its significance. That moment transcended the mere act of crossing a boundary. It was a profound revelation, an unveiling of one another in their entirety, perhaps for the very first time. At times, that alone suffices. He started to venture outside more often, rekindling friendships, seeking employment opportunities, and concentrating on what lay ahead. I stood by him in silence, filled with pride. I observed how his smile came more readily these days, how his shoulders seemed to bear a lighter burden. I began to take tentative steps back toward my true self. I signed up for a pottery class. I became a member of a book club. I lingered in cafes, my only aim to bask in the warmth of the sun on my skin, a gentle reminder that I was still in the process of becoming, still permitted to evolve. One evening, he returned home, cradling a delicate potted plant. He set it upon the kitchen windowsill and declared, "It is for you, a fresh beginning." I smiled, not at the foliage, but at the sentiment behind it. It was uncomplicated, genuine, and brimming with all that we had decided to cherish: affection, tenderness, and a boundary maintained with elegance. There was no need for us to articulate the unspoken bond that had formed between us. There are moments best preserved in the stillness where two souls once converged, choosing, in silence, to allow love to flourish without demanding anything further from it. In that decision, we discovered our path to healing, united yet complete.